What is going on? We are the NFL experts. I'm Wayne G, joined by Sully. What's going on, Sully?
What's going on, guys?
That's what just got some ink on the leg sleeve.
Oh yeah, got pretty much getting the whole leg done. Yeah, the whole right leg will be done. So.
And Mark D coming live from Buffalo Wild Wings. How's it going over there? Oh, you're on mute, my man. You gotta unmute yourself.
Sorry, my bad. I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm having a cocktail tonight.
Are you really at B-Dubs? That's awesome.
I do mind. Stop.
You're just jealous.
I haven't had a drink. I think it's like 8 months, actually.
Dude, I had to be here because my Wi-Fi at home is being wonky and stupid, so I just want to make sure I'm clear for you guys, so that's why I'm here.
I like it.
Well, true story, I did do a show once with Sully and our old co-host Jesse where I was trashed. That was a fun show.
That was a fun show.
I got to see that one, dude. You guys got to show me that one.
It was a fun show. It really was a fun show.
All right, so obviously we've got a big show tonight. We're going to talk some NFL news, try to skip through that quick. We've got 3 position groups to get through for the NFL draft, and then Mark had looked up 10 NFL draft questions that Sully and I will answer. And before we get into that, please make sure you are following on social media. That is at NFL Experts Pod everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, at NFL Experts. That's plural, spurts. NFL Experts Pod. And then at NFL Experts Pod at gmail.com if you want to email us. So that's how you get a hold of us. And one more thing that's going to be coming up is we are going to be part of NFLtoday.co. That is a site that just launched today, actually, by man-hour Michael Buckheister. We're going to have our own page on there. It's going to have shows, and we're going to have an NFL expert show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty excited for all of that. And it has been a while since we got into NFL news, so I did want to kick things off with the kickoff rule, which is going to be discussed. And when I first heard about this, I thought it was going to be similar to what the XFL did and it's similar. It's like a hybrid of that. But I'm going to run through a couple of the rules, and then we'll get your guys' thoughts on it here. Obviously, we've got the kickoff is where it's usually been. They're going to be kicking off from the usual spot, but all the guys defending the kickoff are going to be on the 40, their opponent's 40. The other team receiving is going to be on the 35. The ball has to land between the 20 and the end zone. If it doesn't, then you get the ball at the 40. If it's a touchback, you get the ball at the 35. If it rolls into the end zone, you get it at the 20. And you can't start moving until the ball crosses the 20 in the air. And no more surprise onside kicks. You can only do an onside kick in the 4th quarter, and you have to be trailing, and you have to announce, I'm doing an onside kick.
But
it takes the fun out of it. Sorry, Sully, go ahead, man.
Well, no, because they're also talking about now bringing back the unbalanced formation with that. So you have to declare that you're doing the onside kick, then you can run the unbalanced formation and run 6 on your side versus only 4 on their side. And hopefully it will lead to more onside kicks, honestly, like recoveries at least. So, yeah.
Okay, so I think that the reason the NFL is changing this is because they want the kickoff to be a viable play again. Like, it's not really a viable play anymore. It's just like you kick it to the end zone, it's a touchback, and you know what? That's it. And it's in most games, like this last Super Bowl, there was literally no kick returns. It was all touchbacks. So the NFL is like, we need to do something about this. We need like the excitement back. And I think that's the reason why they're going to do this. So I think part of this is like they're taking some from the XFL and then they're doing some of their own like spin on it.
Yeah, they are. I like the idea, honestly. I think it's like you said. I think it's going to bring excitement back to the special teams game. It's a dying side of the sport right now. And I mean, you've got guys that have made a living off of it. And so. I think it needs to come back. I miss it. I understand it's a very dangerous play and people got hurt and that's why they kind of essentially stopped it. But I mean, if we can figure out a way to get guys like Devin Hester in the open field again, like that was so electric to watch, and like Dante Hall and guys like that was so much fun to watch growing up. I would love to see that again, and I think this allows that. From what I have seen of the XFL stuff, you can legitimately return the ball and have a shot. So it looks like it should be a good ad. Honestly, it doesn't look like gimmicky at all. I don't think.
Yeah, basically, if you get by that line of blockers, you're free. Like you're free to go, and it's a touchdown. So that's probably why they're doing this.
Yeah.
Plus, I think that those guys at the combine were on the 4.22s and the 4.24s, but they are fifth round picks, sixth round picks. Well, now you got a spot as a returner. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a blocker and things like that on those kind of teams. Yeah.
The other issue that's being talked about amongst the league is going to an 18-game regular season schedule. They've been talking about this for years. They compromised at 17 in 2021, but they wanted 18. I have to imagine that if they do go to 18, we're going to see, again, expanded rosters, maybe to 60 players, because you got to have the extra guys for the attrition. And then you're going to have, the salary cap's going to go up. That's the big reason for this. It is a money decision. To give you an example, in 2020, the salary cap, I have it here, was $183 million. 4 years later, 4 years of 17 game seasons, it's $255 million. That's a 40% increase. So that means if you get a 40% increase 4 years from now, when Caleb Williams is still on his rookie deal, the salary cap's going to be $357 million.
Which is where we're going to trend to. I mean, that's where we're trending at. The quarterbacks are, getting $50 million a year now. They're going to be getting $60 million a year. Like, it's just it has to happen, and the cap's got to go up. And I mean, I think the compromise will be one less preseason game too, which I'm a fan of. So I don't think we need 3. I didn't think we need 4, and let's get it to 2, which is fine. And I think most teams will play their starters and for like the first half of both of those games too, and get them ready. And I think that's better for everyone, kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I know it's a money grab, but I actually do think it's a necessary one.
What will you say, Mark?
So this was all just a matter of time, man. Like they were like you said, Sully, you basically stole all the points I was going to talk about. So thanks for that. Okay. But besides, okay, so this would be a matter of time this was going to happen. And it, like Sully was saying, it's a money grab. So this is partly the only reason the players agreed to it, because they're like, okay, if we're going to play these extra games, pay us more, because they're getting hurt more. Like they're putting their bodies at risk, and the NFL is partly getting what they want. So now they're pushing for 18. So it just means, does that mean that they're going to push the salary cap even more than 40%, Wayne?
Well, I was just saying that it went from 40% increase from 16 games to 17 games over the last 4 years. So theoretically, it would increase 40% over the next 4 years, adding an extra game, which would put it at $357 million, which is an extra $120 million in cap space in the next 4 years.
Like I said, I think it was all a matter of time, and it's going to be all a matter of time because it's up to – because the CBA doesn't end until the end of this decade. So – like the NFL and the NFLPA could get together at any time and probably make a deal if they really wanted this to happen. I kind of feel like it won't happen until the CBA is done.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a good thing though. I think it's necessary. I hate the word money grab because it is, but I mean, it's not like the owners are doing this, selfishly. I mean, yes, they are, but players are smartened up and they're getting their end. A lot of these guys too are getting bigger guarantees, fully guaranteed, things like that. I mean, so they're locking up their future. So I think that's smart for everybody. Go.
Well, speaking of fully guaranteed, big guarantees, I thought you would be interested in this next topic, which is Mike Evans re-signing for 2 years, $52 million, $35 million guaranteed. And I'm not sure exactly what the structure is going to look like. I would think something like 20 and then 32 in the second year, or even potentially a void year, which makes it even smaller so that you can sign Baker Mayfield. But I'm curious to get your thought.
I mean, like I said, I think it had to get done. We had to make sure we locked him up. I think that makes sure Baker comes back for sure too. Like I said, we put the tag on Winfield, which I knew we were going to do because, it's not an expensive number to tag a safety. So, overall, I think the plan's working out right now. I think we'll get Baker between 30 and 35 mil a year. If that's for 2 years or 3 years or 2 years and then avoid third, something like that. But yeah, I love the signing. I think we had to. I don't think the money's outrageous. You know what I mean? He's not like the second highest paid receiver in the league or anything. So, I think it just had to get done.
Okay, so from what I read today, they said that this contract it's more like a 1 year, $29 million deal. And the rest of it is incentives and like voids for the second year. So in all reality, like he's getting paid pretty good for this season that he's extending. But it's up to that next year that if he does like he normally does and plays well, like they'll probably continue the contract. But it's all mainly a 1 year deal.
Yeah, which I would assume happens. Yeah.
But that's a good move for you guys, for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to talk about Mark's team now because they just released their quarterback and took an $85 million cap hit over the next 2 seasons, which is going to be 42 because he'll be designated as a March 1st or June 1st cut. And that's going to be Russell Wilson, who's going to get $42.5 million this year against the cap, $42.5 million next year against the cap. Funny statistic. Russell Wilson took 0 snaps on his new contract. Basically, he was released this year. Coming year was supposed to start his new contract, and they cut him before it ever started. So it's just completely bananas to me.
His dead cap is more than the next 2 dead caps combined in the history of dead cap.
And I know that Mark has some passionate feelings about this.
Okay, so I'm going to defend my team a little bit because everybody wants to bash the team saying that we treated Russ wrong, whatever. But I respect the team for not doubling down on their mistake. Like Peyton obviously thinks that him and Russ don't work. It's not his kind of he can't run the offense the way he wants him to. So he's not doubling down, and we're cutting him. So we're dealing with all this dead money, which ironically he kind of did the same thing in New Orleans when he was there. They're in cap hell too. So he's doing the same thing here, even though it really wasn't his doing, give him the contract. So once again, Wayne, we're in quarterback purgatory, like I've said over and over again. I just hope that we can draft one of these young guys, but I don't have faith in that either because I don't know if Peyton wants or has the patience for something like that.
Well, they're not going to stick with Jared Stidham. They're going to go get somebody.
And it's not like they have the money to pick up a vet right now. So, I think they have to get aggressive in the draft this year.
I mean, like everybody keeps saying J.J. McCarthy, I don't know.
They're going to have to move up.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. For me, like I told you earlier in the Wayne off air, it sucks to suck, and that's what the Broncos are doing right now.
Yeah, Mark was very bitter about Russell Wilson saying he's never going to start another game in his career, and I was like, "There's probably 6 or 7 teams he'd go start for right now." He's like, "No, I don't think anyone's even interested in him." I was like, "What are you so mad about Russell Wilson?"
I think that he's going to go to the most desperate, needy team. Like he'll get a team, but it's going to be the most desperate. And my prediction is the Raiders.
I could see the Raiders. The wild part is how much money do you think he gets? Is he going to demand
more than $1 million, and then it would help us?
That's what I mean. Like, is he going to demand $20 million or something? Like, no,
he might,
knowing damn well he's not going to get it from anybody. Like,
I don't know. To me, the team that makes the most sense, and I said this to Mark, was the Pittsburgh Steelers because you put him on that team, they win the North next year.
I don't disagree. I think Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense. I think Pittsburgh's really interested in Fields. I think so too. Yeah, I hear that a lot. So I don't know if they'd want to settle for Russ, but I don't disagree. I think Russ fits very well. I think Tomlin would be able to get the most out of him, kind of thing. Tomlin's a player-friendly coach, which I think Russ needs. You know what I mean? Like he needs a guy to like be his friend. You know what I mean? So I think it could work. Yeah.
And a quarterback that the last bit of NFL news I have here is that Kirk Cousins has been shopping for a house in Atlanta. And so some are speculating that means he's going to go to the Falcons. What they don't realize, his wife is from Atlanta. So how about this speculation? Maybe he retires and just goes and lives in Atlanta near his wife's family.
I don't think he's doing that. He's a guy who's chased the bag his whole career.
Yep.
and I think he's got a shot to get another one. So I don't think he retires just yet, but he could be buying his retirement home. Yeah.
And he was real interested when Belichick was thinking about being the coach there. He was really interested in that. So
Yeah,
that kind of makes me think he might go there.
To be fair, every team makes sense for Kirk Cousins. Like, like you put him on pretty much any team that needs a quarterback, and they're a good ball club. So, it's tough to argue against a lot of the spots.
Well, that's what I had for NFL news, and now we got to talk some NFL draft, and we've got 3 positions that we have not touched on yet. Starting with the linebacker position. Now, obviously, we talked about edge last week. Linebacker is a little bit different. This is more of your run-stopping kind of middle linebacker position.
These are off-ball linebackers, yeah.
Awful. Okay. So I'm going to bring a list up here, and you kind of run through the tiers, and then as we usually do, we'll just might have a question or two on it.
So tier 1, Edgerrin Cooper, Peyton Wilson. I mean, these two are legit ballers. I don't think either one goes first round, but I think both have really good potential to be good players. Junior Colson, Jeremiah Trotter right there. I think Junior Colson's just a tick below the top tier, but he's right there. And Jeremiah Trotter's, I think, a prototypical inside linebacker. And then tier 3's got a lot of guys. I highlighted Cedric Gray and Trice Knight because they both had really good combines, moved really well. I think they show good ability in space, and I think that's really important in this league right
now. All right. Now, Mark, did you have any questions regarding off-the-ball linebackers?
Okay, I guess my one question is, you already said that you don't think any of them are going to move up, but is there a possibility that some team would want them and move up?
I just don't think the value's there for a first rounder. Peyton Wilson had a great combine. He looked really good. He played really well throughout the year. But again, I just don't. Like the tackle, wide receiver, edge, cornerback positions are so loaded in this draft. I just find it really hard for a linebacker to sneak in there. But I guess it could happen. Like late in the draft, like late in the first, like maybe Arizona, but. Again, if somebody like Kool-Aid's there at 27, I'd rather them take Kool-Aid than Peyton Wilson. So, it's just kind of going to depend. But I guess they could. I don't see it happening. I just don't.
Well, that was going to be my question, is that obviously none of them are projected as first-round picks. They're all looking at second, third, and so on. Obviously, when you think off-the-ball linebacker, in our age, we think Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, guys like that. Even Jack Campbell was a first-round pick last year. My question is, are these guys as good as Jack Campbell, not as good, or are they like as good, but there's too much talent in front of them?
No, I don't think they're as good. I think Jack Campbell was very good. I liked him a lot. No, granted, I don't think Jack Campbell should have gone where he went, to be fair. So, I'd have taken him again, probably second round. It's just how I feel about linebackers is the same way I feel about running backs. I think you can get a good one late. So it's difficult for me to value the position high. But I don't see these players even on that level. Like Peyton Wilson balled out, had an incredible combine, won the Bednarik, won the Butkus, all kinds of stuff. And even still is like barely he needed the combine to be a second round prospect. Like Edgerrin Cooper is exactly the mold you want as a linebacker right now. He's Fred Warner 2.0, like kind of thing. Like, granted, he's not Fred Warner. That's not what I'm saying. But that's who he molds his game after. That's how he plays. And it's like that's what you want, those guys who are able to defend the run but also play in space and defend the middle, because that's what offenses are attacking right now. And even still, I think it's a stretch. I don't see either one of them going in the first.
Did you have any other questions of that, Mark?
Okay, so if they don't go in the first, they go in the second. And if they do go in the second, which guys do you see going? You see Wilson going in the second round? Cooper going in the second round?
I think all 4 of the tier 1 and tier 2 could go in the second round. I think Wilson and Edgerrin for sure going to the second round. I think Junior Colson goes too. I just think he's too athletic. I think he goes in the second round also. And then Trotter's going to be the one that if he goes, it's going to sneak in. But if he doesn't go in the second, he's going to go early third. So
I wanted to ask about the responsibility difference of an off-the-ball linebacker. Obviously, when we started the segment, I called them run-stopping linebackers because traditionally Zach Thomas, Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, that was their job, was to stop the running game. They get a sack here and there, but their job was to just take up – the team would take up blockers, they would tackle the ball carrier. the modern day middle linebacker in a passing league, what are their responsibilities?
I mean, it's obviously still defend the run, but truthfully, it's so easy to confuse a linebacker in space now. When you can run these rub routes and you're running these receivers, crossing routes, and then you've got tight ends leaking out and things like that. So these guys have to essentially know everything and be good at everything, which is incredibly difficult to ask. That's why I think we're going to see a shift here soon, where linebackers actually become extremely high valued. Because I mean, if you look at the teams that succeeded this year, they had very good to elite linebacker play. Now, granted, they have other things obviously that make them incredible teams, but all of the teams had incredible to elite linebacker play. You look at Detroit with Anzalone and Jack Campbell. You look at Baltimore with Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. You look at San Francisco with Fred Warner and Drew Greenlaw. You look at Kansas City with Willie Gay. I mean, like, these guys were playing out of their minds, and like we're having elite linebacker play, and I just think it's going to push their value up a bit here coming soon because there's so much responsibility on them, but yet they're still incredibly undervalued. So.
All right. Well, a position that's highly valued, and you even alluded to it earlier, is the cornerback position. And I know that you're going to have some tiers here and some players' names, but realistically, I'm sure you admit that you could probably go 15 names on this list because of how deep it is.
Easy. I had to stop I had to delete. I only gave you 5 because the next tier had 4 guys in it, and I didn't want to give 9 names. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, the cornerback class is incredible. Tier 1, you've got Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, and Nate Wiggins. I still have Cooper as the first guy. I want to see what he runs and what he tests like. I don't think he's going to be the athlete that Quinyon and Nate Wiggins are, but I also, if he runs a 4.45 or a 4.44, that's perfect. That's fantastic. Terrion is the stickiest man coverage player in this draft and is going to get taken early. I just don't love his athleticism. And it's something I value very highly in the linebacker or in the cornerback position. And then Kool-Aid, his teammate, right there with him, just a smart guy. Been a starter at Alabama for seems like 5 years now. So yeah, really deep class though.
Well, I wanted to ask about a player that wasn't on this. And this is probably one of those guys that fell into that next tier, but that is I have here Ennis Rakestraw from Missouri. I see a lot of mock drafts that have him as a first round pick. I'm curious. Do you think he sneaks into that first round?
Not anymore. He had a really bad combine. Not good at all.
No bueno.
Yeah, he ran. I think it was I'm trying to find it. It was slow. He ran a 4.51, which isn't great for him, and then just had bad overall athletic numbers. So I don't see him as a first rounder anymore. I think he dropped. I think he's a solid second rounder though, and I think somebody's going to get a good ball player. He's very eager to tackle. He wants to tackle. He can make plays in the run game, but he's also extremely very well adapted at pass coverage. So I think he can do a little bit of everything. It's just, unfortunately, I think he's limited as an athlete. And like I said, that's not a position I like to be limited at athlete. When you've got guys at receiver now that are just, insane. So.
My question. So, Sully, my question.
Sorry, you got Brian Thomas 6'4", 210, running a 4.3. That when corners are 5'11", 180, and running 4.5s, that's not going to work anymore. So.
Okay, Sully. So you said the cornerback class is deep. Do you think it's deeper than? You said the tackle was the other deep class. Do you think it's a deeper class than the tackles?
Yeah, I do. I think that the cornerback class has really good talent all the way through the third round. So yeah, I think it does. And the top end talent is, I think really good. It's not special. It's not Sauce. It's not Devin Singletary, but I think it's overall, I think it's an extremely deep and talented class.
I had to ask if the combine helped my guy Elijah Jones, who had a 42-inch vertical and I think ran a 4.44. And obviously, we talked about his big knock is that he draws a lot of penalties and he's not a great tackler. But obviously he showed he's got the athleticism to be elite, and he's a great ball hawk. We've seen his ball skills in college. Did he help himself at the combine, you think?
I think he did. Again, it's such a deep class that once you get past like that third, round kind of grade, it's really just what's your flavor. It's what fits your scheme, what you're trying to do, and what you're trying to run. And I think that's what's going to matter. To be fair, I don't see too many teams that are like, once you get that deep, they're like, oh, I've got to have this guy and this thing. It's like they got a group of guys that fit what they're looking for, and whichever one falls, they'll take. But I mean, I think he solidified himself as like a solid fourth round pick right there. So he could sneak into the third.
All right.
Okay, so Sully, on your tiers, basically your top 2 tiers, all 5 of those guys are probably going to go in the first round.
Yeah.
So out of the next tier of group, who do you see possibly sneaking in to be that next guy? Is it Redstraw?
No, again, I just don't think he's in there. I just don't see it. TJ Tampa, maybe. He didn't work out, but when at his pro day, it's gonna be absolutely insane. He's a special player. So I would probably say TJ Tampa. Kamari Lassiter did some really good things for his stock too. I think he has a chance to sneak in there. So probably Kamari Lassiter if I had to make a pick.
All right. And the last group we have also in the defensive secondary is the safeties. And we'll bring that up here. We have a familiar name at the top of the list. And who do we have here for the tiers of safety?
So I got Cooper DeJean as my number 1 safety also. That's just how good this guy is. I think he's obviously the best tackling corner, or else I wouldn't have him at safety. And I think he'd probably be one of the best tackling safeties. So, but as like a pure safety, Tyler Nubin's far and away the best player. Then you got Javon Bullard, Cam Kitchens, and Kalen Bullock. Javon Bullard's also a guy that's probably going to be like more of like your slot corner safety kind of thing. I don't think like you wouldn't put him as like a back deep free safety. But he's probably like, honestly, I think whoever team drafts him is going to be a slot corner. But then Cam Kitchens and Cam Bullock are just, I mean, kind of freaks of nature. Cam Kitchens had a pretty bad athletic combine, but he's built just, I mean, it's wild. And then Cam Bullock's fast, dude. That guy's so fast. Uh-oh.
Wayne, are you there? We're having technical difficulties. Sorry, people.
Nope, that's right. Yeah, I am here. Yeah, I went out. Din?
Yeah, looks like, was that me or was that you, Wayne?
Yeah. This is me right here.
I mean, I see you, but I mean, was it you that cut out?
Yeah, that was me. I had my computer wasn't plugged in, and so the power went out on my laptop.
I think we lost Sully.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll bounce back in a minute, and I feel bad because he was just talking about the safeties, and I have a safety question for him.
Me too. It's like, Sully, where are you, man? We need you. Come back, please.
We lost some people who were viewing as well. Looks like, hey, that's what happens when you have technical difficulties. But whatever, it is what it is. It'll make editing the audio a little bit more challenging.
Right.
All right, so let's take a look here. I'm looking at my phone to see. Oh, Sully has not messaged me.
Okay, so
what was he saying?
He was talking about how Cooper DeJean was his top guy, and he said that a new one was the next one after that. I can't remember what else he was talking about.
I can pull it up and we can look at it, and obviously if he joins us, he'll join us. But I do have his Cooper DeJean, Tyler Nubin, Devon Bullard, Cameron Kitchens, and Kalen Bullock. And I did think it was funny that we have Cooper DeJean listed as the number 1 corner and the number 1 safety. And the thing I thought was funny about it, and he's not here to defend himself, but if he jumps back in, he can, is I was like, just like when we have a black quarterback and they move him to wide receiver after the combine, now we have a white corner and they're moving him to safety. White can't play corner. I mean, come on.
That was going to be my question to Sully is he qualified to do both, or is it one of those things where they're just like, we don't really think you can do this well, so you're going to go and do this instead?
I mean, I do think that he has size. He's like 6'4", 220 pounds or something like that. He's a big guy, and he's fast. He's going to run a 4.44, like Sully was saying, 4.45. But the question is, I mean, that's not really, when you think corner, you think of the 4.28 that Wiggins ran, or 4.3, right? So he is a little bit slower than some of those skinnier corners, but he can play corner. I mean, he's tall enough, he's long enough. His height makes up for the speed.
Do you think it depends on the team that would want him to play safety? Probably.
I mean, I like him at safety. If you have 2 good corners and you can bring him in and essentially have 3 good corners, the example I would use is the New England Patriots. They drafted Devin McCourty as a corner. He played his rookie year at corner, and they moved him to free safety his second season. He's a Hall of Famer, So some guys, it's a good move for him.
Like Charles Woodson late in his career, he did the same thing.
Well, at least it wasn't his rookie year that they're talking about moving him to safety. They let him play corner for 10 years.
For sure.
All right. So obviously, that was what Sully was going to talk about, was the safeties. If he jumps back in, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But the next segment we have here is our NFL draft questions. We do have 10 questions. And Mark, you found the questions on social media. So why don't you go with the questions and we'll discuss each one.
Okay, so I was looking on social media, looking up research and draft stuff, and I just wanted to come up with some content for us to talk about. Basically, these are just questions that you may have predictions for. We don't know how it's going to happen. Like, there's so many questions in the draft right now. Okay, so the first question will be, how many quarterbacks go in the first round?
All right. Well, I'll let you give your thoughts as well, but my thing is I'm a wishy-washy guy, and so I don't want to commit to one number or the other. I said the over-under is 4.5. Because I think we can all agree that there are 4 definitely going in the first round, and that's going to be McCarthy, Williams, May, and Daniels. They're all going to go in the top 10, top 15. The question is, does one guy or 2 guys slip into the end of the first round, like a Penix, who looks really good at the combine, or a Bo Nix? Can somebody, or Spencer Rattler? Could those guys sneak into the first round? So as many as 7, but I put the over at 4.5. If I had to wager, I would probably say 5, because I think there would be a team in the second round that trades up into the first to get one of those 3 guys.
Yep, I'm with you. I think I'm gonna go the over. I'm gonna say 5, because I think, and I agree with you, I think somebody is gonna jump back into the first round with that 30th pick, 31, whatever, and get their quarterback. Either it be Nix or, like you said, Spencer or Penix Jr. It could be any of those guys, but I feel like that's like a trend in the NFL, and some team's gonna do it.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Which one is it gonna be?
Penix Jr.
I think so too. His medicals were cleared at the combine. He's got clean medicals, and like I said, he threw the ball really well in the.
They said he threw it the best out of everybody in the combine. Like they said, he's got a beautiful ball throw, man. Like so. Some team, I feel like, is going to take a chance and jump back in because they're going to want to keep him on that 5th-year option deal.
He's an incredible passer. I think that when we look at who threw it the best, I get excited about power. Like how much zip can you put on the ball? Michael Vick, Josh Allen, guys like that. And Joe Milton really was firing rockets in the combine. I mean, he threw one. It was like 50 yards, and it was just on a rope.
Yeah. I kind of feel bad for those guys at the combine because they're not throwing to receivers that they know, and like, do they get judged if these guys drop the ball? I kind of, in some way, I feel like they do. No,
they're really looking at the spiral, because a tighter spiral means it's more catchable. They look at the touch that you can put on it on longer passes. Does it fall into the receiver's hands, or are you sticking it into the receiver's hands? Can you make those out throws? Like if you throw and you've got the power to make an out throw, but you completely miss the receiver, they're just looking to see if you have the arm strength to make that throw. So they're judging the ball itself. They're not really judging what the result is.
Well, good. I would hope not, man. Because it's not their fault if the guy drops it.
No, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So my next question: what surprise team could trade up for a quarterback?
So this one was interesting because I said we could look at the Raiders, we could look at the Broncos, the Vikings, but those aren't surprise teams. We expect those teams to move up, right? So for me, the two surprise teams that I have, actually I have three surprise teams. The first one is the Steelers. The Steelers could move from 20 to maybe within the top 10 if they decide not to get Russell Wilson or Justin Fields and they want to draft a quarterback. That could be a surprise team that moves up. I have the New York Jets. Zach Wilson's allowed to go get a trade now. Aaron Rodgers has got 1 year and then he's done. So they could go and get their guy, maybe trade up from the second round to the first round. Not the first round, second or third round to the second round. I have him here, moving up from 72 to 40. You can see them go for a guy like Nix or a guy like Rattler or Penix if they're there at 40. I can see the Jets moving up. And then the last surprise team is the Browns. It has not worked out with Deshaun Watson. And obviously Dorian Thompson-Robinson is not the answer. So I see the Browns could potentially move up from 3 to 2 as well.
Dude, Wayne, those were very interesting. I didn't think about any of those, but those are all very good thoughts. Mine were completely different, which I'm surprised that ours aren't the same. My first one, I have a couple also. My first one would be the Rams. And I say the Rams because I think at some point they're going to want to replace Stafford. So they're going to get a guy to maybe have Stafford be the bridge while this guy learns under him. I just feel like that's a very Sean McVay move to do. My next one would be the Giants. I feel like the Giants aren't totally satisfied at Daniel Jones. So I feel like maybe they might be that surprise team that maybe jumps into the 31 to get a quarterback. And my last one would be Seattle, because I don't think that Seattle has confidence in Geno Smith for the future. And I think he's on a deal where they could pretty much let go of him after next year. After this year, I mean. And so, yeah, maybe they just get somebody for the future.
Yeah, for sure. And I think all three of those are great choices. I think with the Giants, I didn't think of them because I was looking at the first round, but similar to the Jets and the Browns, they could just move up in the third round or the second round to get a guy. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. Although they have an early second round pick as well. So I don't know, but maybe they trade up.
Right. So they could they might not have to move to get their quarterback if they really want one.
Really. Or depending on what they want to do. I think the teams like the Giants, definitely I think the Rams need one because I don't know how much longer Stafford has, like you said. I do think Seattle needs one because I think they are going to move on from Geno. But the Giants are interesting because they just signed Daniel Jones. Like last year was the first year of this deal. Now, granted, after this year, they can cut him and it's a small cap hit. But they also could play him. And then if he plays well, they're like, well, we still have him under contract for 2 more years. So it's one of those kind of tests that will keep you. We might not. I would think, if anything, the Giants would ride out Jones, kind of hope they have a bad year. And again, put some of that Shadur Sanders.
You and Shador, bro. You love that guy, man.
I love Shadur Sanders. I really do.
Okay, next question. What teams should trade down?
So I have, again, a couple teams that should trade down, starting with the New England Patriots. They've got so many holes in offense. They need to fill every single position. Trade down from 3, pick up an extra second, pick up a first-round pick next year. They definitely need to move up. The Chargers are in cap hell. They need as many young guys as they can get. So I have the Chargers and the Patriots. I then have your Broncos and the Jets because neither of them has a second-round pick. You know what I mean? So trade down from the first instead of trading up to get that quarterback. Trade back, get a second-round pick. Get a first next year. Now you have 2 firsts next year. And then lastly, I have the Ravens because they're losing 10 starters. So they should trade back out of the first completely and pick up as many picks as they can.
All right, Wayne. Well, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I only had one, and I'm going to say the Patriots because I think that they're going to trade down because they need more capital. I read somewhere that they said that the GM wants a bunch of picks to rebuild the team. So they're going to use these draft picks instead of really focusing on free agents because they really haven't done well with free agent signings. So maybe they're going to go the draft this time and draft guys. So they're going to need all the capital they can get. And one more caveat for this, you're not going to like it, Wayne. I kind of feel like they're going to keep Mac Jones, maybe as a bridge guy for their quarterback that they draft. Possibly, I'm not totally sure. It's just the gut feeling I got. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, I don't hate it because I'm not a Patriots fan. So if they lose all their games and then they draft Shadur Sanders, now I'm a Patriots fan again. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Could you see a team trading up for Brock Bowers?
I wrote down, could I see it? Or is it possible? Yes, but not likely. I mean, tight end is not a position you trade up for. It's kind of a position that if it falls to you, like if Brock Bowers slips to like 14, 15, the teams in that area might be like, hey, cool, he fell to us. But I just don't see a team saying, let's go up and trade future first round picks to get him.
Okay, I totally agree with you on that. But this is my scenario, is I think that the team that I think might trade up is my Broncos. But only in this caveat or this scenario is if we don't get our quarterback, let's say all the good quarterbacks drop, and then there's a guy that Peyton doesn't like, and he's not any of his guys, so he goes and picks someone else, and he picks Bowers. So maybe he moves up a couple of slots to get Bowers.
Yeah, I don't like it because, again, if I'm the Broncos and there is a quarterback that you want, whether it's McCarthy or Daniels, whoever it is that group, go up and get them. Like, before it's too late. Just say, hey, we want to move up to 4 or 5, period.
Right. Because they keep saying that Peyton, if he falls in love with a guy, he's going to move up. It doesn't matter what he has to do him. He'll do it. So I really hope that's true because I really want a young guy. Wayne, you know this.
And the ideal trade partners for them are the New England Patriots, who want to move back, I don't think the Cardinals necessarily, because they really want Marvin Harrison. So you're looking at the Patriots and then probably the Giants. I don't think the Chargers will allow a division rival to trade up and get a quarterback.
Yeah, no, I didn't think so either. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at the Patriots maybe if there is a relationship there with Peyton in the Patriots. So maybe, I don't know. But that could be a good possibility, Wayne. Okay, so next question. How many wide receivers will go in the first round, and who follows the top guys? Marvin Harrison, Neighbors, and Udunze.
So I have 4 minimum are going to go in the first round because I do have a 4th guy. I think Brian Thomas is the 4th guy of that group. So I think all 4 of them go in the first round. Now, you could see up to 7 because the 3 names I have after them are Keon Coleman, A.D. Mitchell, and Troy Franklin. All of those guys have first-round talent, so you could see all 7 go in the first round. I don't think all 7 are going to go in the first round, but you could see all 7 of those. We know 4 for sure. So, again, I'm going to put the over-under 5.5, and I'm going to take the under.
Okay, I'm going to go, I think 6 total. I'm not totally sure the 6 after those 3 guys, but I think the guy that goes after those 3 is Brian Thomas Jr., so I agree with you on that. The reason I'm saying that is because I feel like LSU just churns out great wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. And this is going to be like the 2020 draft when they drafted Burrow number 1 and Jefferson got drafted, I think, 22. This is going to be the repeat of that.
All right. Well, I think that's a fair assessment. And all right, we'll get to that next receiver category. I'm very excited to talk to you about this.
Okay, next question. Did Xavier Worthy move his way into the first round after his speedy 40?
No. His 4.21 40 did not propel him into the first round. He is the 66th ranked player on Pro Football Focus. He is the 14th ranked receiver. And I told this to you the other day. I said, he went to the combine, he ran a 4.21, but he was expected to run a 4.25. So he's only a little bit faster than they expected. So not only that, but when he showed up at the combine, listing himself at 6'1" and 175, he measured in at 5'11" and 165. So if that 4.21 helped him, his little person frame did not help him. And I think you can see him still in that 3rd round. Maybe he creeps into the bottom of the 2nd because of the 4.21 and the whole kickoff return thing coming up. But as a receiver, no, he's still a 3rd round pick.
I'm really glad that you mentioned his frame because when I was watching the video of it, he looked really, really skinny, dude. Like, I'm glad that you said that because I didn't know that. Like, I was like, man, he looks really skinny. Maybe that's why he ran so fast. So
yeah,
I'm glad you said that.
Skin.
But my assessment is I think there will be a team that's going to draft him just because they love the speed. And it's going to be, Wayne, it's going to be the Raiders. Sorry, Jim.
Well, not in the first round. I mean, the Raiders might take him, But they're not
yeah,
taking
it
him
might
in
not be the
round.
first round, but the Raiders, they'll be the type of team they're going to be like, oh, man, we want that guy.
There you go. They love speed.
Yeah, speed kills, as they say. Okay, so next question. Who gets dealt on the day of the draft or draft night? Fields, Wilson, Jones?
So this was an interesting one because I said if Fields or Mac Jones gets traded, I think it happens way before draft day because neither one of them is going to be a first round compensation. You're getting
I agree with you.
Yeah, second or fifth round for Mac, maybe a sixth round pick, So I think when you trade on draft day, a lot of times it's a guy who's going to help you get a first round pick, or you're going to give up a first round pick to get that guy. So here's the names I have. T. Higgins could be a guy on draft day that somebody gives up their first round pick to get T. Higgins because he's going to be a number one receiver for somebody. And obviously he's franchised right now with I'm struggling. Cincinnati. I kept wanting to say Baltimore because it starts Bengals. Cincinnati. And Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Khalil Mack from the Chargers, they need to clean house. They're $50 million over the cap. Each of those guys is getting $30 million a year. One of them is going to get moved on draft day. I don't think any of them gets a first in return, but you could see like the Chargers say, hey, we're going to move back, but we're not going to instead of moving back and giving up a first round next year, we're going to move back, give you a second and Khalil Mack. That way they don't have to give up their first round pick next year. So those are the guys. Here's one for you. Brandon Cooks. Cooks has been
that guy's been tossed around, Wayne.
Always on draft day. Always on draft day he gets traded. And now he's in Dallas. If you trade him, if you cut him, you save $8 million against the cap or something like that. They've got to extend CeeDee Lamb. He's the last year of his deal, so CeeDee Lamb needs an extension. He's going to be one of the highest paid receivers in the league.
Agreed.
And it doesn't help you to cut Michael Gallup because it's only an $800,000 savings. So sorry, Brandon Cooks, but you're going to get traded again on draft day.
Wayne, I love that you took my question and you totally took it to a whole nother place. And you're like, this guy, what about this guy? What about this guy? I love it. Because I agree with all of that. Like I said earlier, I think the Patriots are going to keep Mac Jones, so I don't think he's going to get traded. I think out of all these, that Wilson is going to get cut. Jets are probably just going to try to get some for him. They're not going to. So they'll end up releasing him. And Fields is going to go somewhere. I'm just not sure where because I read somewhere that his draft capital really, his trade capital really isn't there for most teams. A lot of teams are reluctant to pick him up. And I read that the Steelers were going to offer a 2 for him, and then they rescinded that. So there's a lot of doubt with Justin Fields, but I do think that he goes somewhere.
Well, Sully predicted that he goes to the Raiders for the 44th overall pick.
I could see that. Okay, next question. Who makes the biggest reach and for what position?
So it's funny because historically, the Patriots have always been the biggest reachers. Last year, they traded to move up and draft Chad Ryland, the kicker. And they needed so much more help than that. And he was terrible this year. They've taken Cole Strange in the first round when he was a projected third-round pick.
Good old Bill Picks, Wayne.
They took Dominic Easley at the end of the first round. So Bill's not there anymore. So I don't think it's going to be the Patriots. I said the guy it's going to be, that's what I started with. I said, who's it going to be? And I think it's going to be Austin Booker out of Kansas. He's 6'6". He runs a 4.4 40. He's a freak athlete, but he's only been a starter for 1 year, the Division I level. So he's a guy that, is projected in the third round. But when we say reach, I do think a team is going to, use a second round pick on him. And I think it's going to be a team that has 2 second round picks to trade. So think the Eagles or the Falcons if they get, not the Falcons, I'm sorry, the Bears.
Cardinals?
No, the Bears, if they get that second round pick for Fields, then I could see them trading for, or not trading, but reaching for Austin Booker.
That's very, I can see that. Mine would be, I think Detroit is going to reach for a corner because what do they draft? Wayne, like 26?
At the bottom, yeah, 27,
25 or 20, something like that. So they're way low in the draft. So they're going to, to get their guy, they're going to have to move up. And I think they're going to really want Quinyon Mitchell. Couldn't tell you why. I just have a gut feeling. And they're going to have to move up for that guy if they really want him.
Okay.
And they're really needy at corner right now. Like, they got torched by a bunch of teams. Because they're a really good offense, they were able to keep up with that. But they need help there.
Well, it's a safe bet because, like Sully said, they reached for Jack Campbell last year in the first round. They reached for Jamar Gibbs. He worked out, but they reached for him because they took him way earlier than he should have gone. So yeah, they're a team that historically is especially recently has shown.
Yeah, Dan Campbell has shown that he does this, so I could totally see him doing it for a corner. And I keep reading everywhere that they want a corner in this first round. They want a corner so bad, so I could just see it happening.
But unlike the Patriots, who've reached and it's blown up in their face, the Lions reach and it actually works out for them. So whoever he reaches for is probably going to do really well.
Right. So maybe I'm right on this. Who knows? Next question. This is the one I really wanted to ask Sully, so I'm really sad that he's not here right now. When does the first running back get picked? And is there a reason to trade up for one in the second round?
So there's three possibilities here where that first running back could get picked. And I think the Cowboys at 56, Tony Pollard's there. He's kind of at the end of his deal. They've got to decide whether to franchise him or give him a contract. And you should never give a running back a second deal, especially unless it's a cheap deal. So that's a team, the Cowboys. The Texans need a running back. They're drafting at 59 in the first round or second round. I'm sorry. So that's the potential. And then the Ravens desperately need a running back. I think they should sign, either Saquon Barkley or King Henry, one of those guys. But if they don't, look for them to draft a guy at 62. So right in that range, at 56 to 62, I think is that range where the first guy goes. As far as is there a reason to trade up to get a running back? You don't trade up for a position. Like nobody ever trades up for a position. They trade up for a player. There's a guy that you like. So if you are somebody who's in love with, Trey Benson, or you're in love with Jonathan Brooks, right? And you think that the Cowboys or the Texans are going to sneak in there and get him ahead of you, then you're going to have to trade up if you want to get him. If you don't feel like the guys below him can fill those shoes. I personally think that the running backs basically from the middle of the second round through the fourth round are equals. So I wouldn't trade up to get a guy, but would somebody? Potentially.
Okay, so my prediction is I think, I'm glad that you mentioned Saquon, and I think the free agency running backs are going to screw this all up for these running backs in the draft, because running backs isn't already a valued position, so some of these teams might just go with a proven commodity. And so I feel like the team that reaches is going to be the team that misses out on a Saquon or a Josh Jacobs, or I can't even think of all the guys right now. But whatever team misses out on those, that's going to be the team that's going to be needy and reach for one of these guys. That's my prediction.
Yeah, somebody could. And like I said, I really like Benson a lot from Florida State. He had a great combine. He's, in my opinion, the best receiver of the running backs in there. So he's a more complete receiver or complete running back. So he's the guy that I would reach for if I was going to reach, even though I wouldn't because I don't reach for running backs. But he's the guy that I think should be the first guy off the board, but it could be Jonathan Brooks as well.
And that was going to be my question, Wayne, to Sully, is which, out of all these guys, which guy is going to go first? I keep reading Jonathan Brooks is the highest rated, but the highest rated guy is not always going to be the best guy. So we'll have to ask Sully that next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if it's me, it's Benson's my guy. But if I had to bet, I think Brooks is the name that's been at the top of everyone's list. I just think that Benson is the guy, if you ask me, if I'm the GM.
Okay, so last question. Trading up for a tackle or a wide receiver possible with how deep the classes are this year?
Of course, because like I just said, you don't trade up for positions, you trade up for players. So it doesn't matter how deep the class is. If I like, say, a guy like Tyler Guyton's a guy who's going to be bottom of the first round, top of the second round kind of area at tackle. If I like him a lot, I'm whoever team, and I like him a lot, and I don't think I'm going to get him, even though there's probably 5 tackles after him who are just as good. I like him the most, then I'm going to trade up to get him, even though I could get the same value elsewhere, because that's just what teams do. Like I said, they fall in love with a player, not the position. So if they want that position, the only way they'll trade up is if there's a guy that they really like that they're worried they might not get him. Oh, you got mute, buddy. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, my fault. I can see both scenarios of teams trading up for either one of those, but I think the tackle is a little bit more important and it's more deep class. So I can totally see a team moving up for a tackle, and tackle just seems just so much more of a prized position in the NFL these days.
It is. It's a really, really, really important position. And when you look at the teams that do well, they have really good tackles. We talked earlier in the season about San Francisco when they had that skid. Trent Williams was out. So it's hugely important. So yeah, teams. It depends on the player. Again, if I'm the Patriots, I stay at 3 and I draft Joe Alt. But again, if you're one of these teams that's drafting, 6, 7, 8, if you really want Joe Alt, you might trade up to 4 or 3 to get him because he is the top name on the board. Like I compared him to Jonathan Ogden. I mean, that's a guy you don't want to miss out on.
Man, I know that my Broncos might be letting go of Bowles, so we might be one of those teams that moves up for a tackle, dude. For real.
I don't hate it for them moving up for a tackle, but then who's going to play quarterback unless they're looking in that second round again, looking at those guys like Rattler and Nix.
Or we're going with Stidham, like you said earlier.
and then you're in the Shadur Sanders sweepstakes.
We are.
Well, let me ask you this, because you had Nix in your mock draft. You had Nix going to the Broncos. If the Broncos trade up and they get, a tackle, Joe Alt, let's say they get Joe Alt at 3, they trade up with the Patriots. They don't have a second round pick this year, so they're going to have to trade up again into the second round. But how would you feel about basically trading all of your picks for the next 2 years to have Joe Alt and, Nix?
McCarthy?
Not McCarthy, because it's going to be somebody at the top of the second.
So like Penix Jr. or Spencer Rattler, one of those guys?
Exactly. So you get Alt and Penix, but you don't have any picks for the next 2 years.
That's a good question, Wayne. Don't get me wrong. I would love for us to have Alt, Dang. I'm glad I'm not making that decision. I'm glad I'm not the GM. I'll just say that, Wayne.
Because that is what Mike Ditka did. If you remember back in the Ricky Williams draft, Mike Ditka traded all of his picks to get Ricky Williams.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see Peyton doing that, but I don't know. He's done it before because that one year, remember that message I sent you of he moved up to get a bunch of picks in the first, second, and third rounds, and then he gave away everything else, and he had a really good draft class. So if he repeats that, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things because you have to remember too, you're getting all rookies on rookie contracts. So maybe you don't have any picks next year, but you don't have any veterans taking up the cap space either. So now you can go out and get veterans in that second year.
Right. Yeah, I would be okay with that. Like if we can get like some hidden gem like Alvin Kamara, I'd be totally okay with that.
Well, let me ask you, there's a long way. We got another month before we get into the draft, a month and a half, really, before we get into the draft.
60 days, Wayne, 60 days.
So let me ask you your dream scenario as of today. You tell me your dream scenario in the first and second round, third round picks, whatever, for the Broncos. What do you want to see them come away with?
Okay, my dream scenario would be... Okay, my dream scenario is a quarterback. Like I told you, I want a young buck. I don't care who it is. I want us to draft and develop a quarterback, preferably in the first round. So it's one of these guys that we have a 5th-year option with. And my next dream scenario would be to get a cornerback to pair with Surtain. I feel like if we had another guy, maybe not as good as him, but maybe on the same level to a certain degree, we can shut down a lot of teams. And I feel like that would help our defense. We have a really good defense already, but that would really shut down teams.
Now, if Sean Payton is a quarterback guru, right, which apparently he alleges he is, then
right.
What is to stop him, say, from going the Brock Purdy route? Like, if you really feel that confident in your abilities to groom a quarterback, why not just wait till rounds 4 or 5 to get your quarterback? Why are we talking J.J. McCarthy? We should be talking Joe Milton. We should be talking Jordan Travis.
And you're right. He can be thinking about that right now, Wayne. I don't know. I just have faith that he is a QB guru. So I'm praying to God, to the football gods, that he's going to get us a guy. Like he even said in his press conference, like we have to find the next guy. Like we don't need this meme again of all these quarterbacks crossed off this guy's jersey. We need a guy.
And I will say that last year with the Patriots, one of the reasons I was so angry about Mac Jones playing is I said, I don't care if they stink, but at least be fun to watch. Like if you're fun to watch, but you lose every game, I'm happy. And here's the situation for the Broncos. If you go out and get a guy like Joe Milton with his arm in Colorado in that atmosphere, he could throw the ball 100 yards.
You know, it could end up that way, Wayne. I trust your gut instincts and opinions. So, it could happen. Who knows, man? We don't know anything. Everybody's lying right now. So everything I read could be complete bullshit. But, I'm going to keep reading it because I'm a nerd and I want to find out what's going on with my team, man. So hopefully they make the move that I want them to.
Well, I've appreciated the show. Obviously, if you stuck with us, I see we have some people watching now. Thank you for sticking with us. Obviously, we lost power midway through the show. We'll get some of these things edited. We'll get some reels out there for you guys. Mark didn't skip it all today. It was great.
Yes.
We're going to have some good reels with Mark.
Thank you, Dubs.
We did a couple Sully ones before he was kicked out of the video for whatever reason. But I do appreciate everyone sticking with us. Next time, send us your comments. Make sure you're following us on social media at NFL Experts Pod. Let us know if you have any questions about the draft or about free agency. We want to answer them for you.
Yes, because free agency is coming up next week. Right now is the tampering period. So in the next few days, you're going to be hearing all kinds of stuff, and we're going to be talking about it next week.
That's right. Like the New England Patriots getting Tyron Smith. That'd be nice.
It could happen, man. Could happen.
All right. Well, peace out, Mark.
Party on, Wayne.